Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Friday, everyone. First of all, I want to thank God for this amazing opportunity, and I want to thank Victoria, my mentor, and also a very special guest that I have with me today. Um, First of all, I'm going to introduce myself real quick for those who don't know me yet. So what is it that I do and my mission? Hello, my name is Maritza Rico. I'm an entrepreneur, a lifestyle mentor. My mission is to help women who have been through situations of domestic violence to have a better future through personal development and to build their business, legacy, and life of their dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest. It's Stacy. Hello, Stacy. Woo! In the house. Stacy, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So, hi guys, I'm Stacy Christine. I'm trying to figure out my best angle, but it's not really working. So, oh well. I am an entrepreneur as well. I've been in the beauty industry for over 7 years now. I own 2 salons. As of April 15th of 2017, I retired from the salon industry and I went fully online. I'm also going to be doing microblading trainings with a partner soon, starting next month. And I'm really excited.
Yay, thank you very much, Stacy. Stacy, I have a few questions for you. Sorry, I can't even talk.
You're fine.
Assignment. Okay, so Stacy, was the abuse to you was physical or verbal?
Both.
Both.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit?
Sure. So the beginning of our marriage, I didn't even realize, like, we kind of got into marriage because of his insecurity. He was actually complaining about my son's father and how, I don't even remember what type of complaint it was, but it was about him some way. And so, drunken moment, I was like, what are we waiting for? Let's just get married. And I mean, because we were talking about it before. He was talking about it mainly. And the next day he woke up and he was like, so you really want to get married? I was like, fuck, I guess I have to now. So whenever we did get married, he basically like took me out of my own environment and put me in his parents' building. And once that kind of happened, it was almost like he owned me. He spoke to me as though he owned me. And after a while, it was kind of like I got fed up with it, but since he already took me away from everything, I kind of had to deal with it, especially since I brought my son along, you know. So it ended up being just more, he was yelling at both my son and I, and then me being the protective mother that I am, I had to protect my cub, and I told him to keep my son's name out his mouth. And I was serious. I would have fucked him up if he would have continued to say anything and hurt my son in any kind of way. So he stopped, thank God. But then my abuse went worse. Just as soon as my son would go to sleep or go to bed, not necessarily go to sleep, I would put him to bed. It would just be verbal, screaming, yelling what I did wrong, how horrible of a person I was, so on and so forth. And after a while, it was kind of like I didn't want to deal with it. I found out he cheated. And when I found out he cheated, that's when it was like, yes, that's an excuse to leave. You know, I don't have the funds right now to get out of his house, but I'm going to, mind you, we were married, so it's technically our house. But that was one of the things he would constantly scream, this is my house, this is my house, this is my house. So after a while, I was like, shit, it is your house then. It's not, that's fine, have it. But after a while, it was kind of like, oh, so he cheated. And I separated, like, as far as not living, but being in the same room as him. And I went to a mutual bar of ours. We had mutual friends there. And one of our mutual friends, who's a male, gave me shots, like was giving drinks, like he was celebrating something. So, of course, I was taking it. If it's free, it's for me. But that's a friend. There's like, this is my regular bar that I go to. I actually used to work here. And the word got back to him. So the next morning, it was like 7 a.m. Most times I would fight back because, you know, I didn't do anything wrong. He was always in the wrong. So I'm going to scream at you back now, now that I have that thing that happened that you really messed up. And this time I didn't have energy to fight. So after he said how I was a whore, how I was all with this, how I was embarrassing him, he went and he just choked me. And my son was in the other room whenever it happened. And I was just more terrified for him than my own self. So after it happened, he was choking me, and like we were looking at each other in each other's eyes, like it was almost like a movie. You know how you see terror in both people's eyes. I literally can picture like terror in both of our eyes. My eyes. And eventually he just stopped, and I was frozen, and he left, and all I could do was call a friend that I know went through something similar, and so she was advising me, but I was. When I found out that, like, if you call the cops, they will go arrest him, come to you, check everything, see if you have bruises and take pictures and all that other stuff, I was like, I don't want to terrify my son anymore. And that's when, like, cops were, like, killing people on the street. I mean, they still are, I'm sure, who knows, but it's not as on the news as much. So my son was terrified of the cops at that time. So I didn't want to do that to him. So I didn't call. But on Monday I went and got a restraining order against him. That paper protected me a little bit, but I had another incident afterwards that he didn't necessarily use his hands, but because he knew that he would have got in serious trouble if he would have used his hands.
Yeah.
So as I'm packing for my vacation that I had planned way prior without him, it was more like a retreat for myself and my career that I was in. Well, I'm still there. He decided to like take my stuff, throw it across the room, saying, "You're not going anywhere. You can't just leave your husband like that," and so on and so forth. He started spitting in my face and then hitting me with his just body, not necessarily like hands. And I was like, why am I still taking this for like 2.5 hours? He actually left, went to the bar, came back, and was 10 times worse. So I was like, you know what? I'm not dealing with this. My son wasn't there at the time. So I called the police on him. And he did get arrested. Unfortunately, he got released the next morning, and it was the weekend. Like, so he just kept on getting like slaps on the hand. But luckily, after my retreat, which my retreat basically saved my life because it helped me really get all toxic stuff out your head, or get all toxic stuff out your life. I came back, slept on a friend's couch for 2 days because my son was with, I think, his father at the time. And then when I was able to rent a truck, I rented a truck and packed everything out of his house and moved in with a friend with my son. And that was the beginning of my freedom. And that was like, I wouldn't say exactly a year ago, but it happened like May 15th of 2016 when I left.
Thank you, Stacy, for sharing that. And like you said, you went through that, and sometimes it is tough when we have kids. And when they're a little bit older, they understand. But then, like you said, he was afraid of the police in general, basically. Was your ex under the influence, meaning like drugs or alcohol, when that happened, like the whole abuse thing?
So the verbal abuse was because of him just downing alcohol at night most times. That's kind of how we bonded, which I realized because I was an alcoholic at that time as well. But I knew how to control it, I guess you can say. He didn't at all. So any verbal argument, screaming, whatever, putting me down, he was mainly drunk. But the first time he put his hands on me, it was early in the morning. I don't know if he was still drunk from the night before, but I'm not sure if he was actually drunk at that very moment.
Thank you. What was your motivation to get out of that after he got arrested, but like you mentioned, he got released in a couple of hours, let's say. And how did you overcome that? What was your motivation?
So I was lucky enough to have this retreat already scheduled for myself because it was a week retreat, and it was 6 hours away from New York City, which is where I live. So I was able to get away and clear my head, clear my brain, and just really
Mm-hmm.
focus on what was best for my family. Because
Mm-hmm.
at that point, it was like, no, you're not a stepfather. You're not his father. I don't want you influencing him, because I
Mm-hmm.
know even though you're not putting his name in your mouth, he still hears everything that hears. He still hears everything that you're saying, which is going
Mm-hmm.
to affect him, which is going to make him do it to his next girlfriend or his girlfriend or eventually wife. And I was like, no, I'm cutting that chain off. I'm not allowing the abuse to continue in my family. So I had to do what was best for my son and me, of course. I at any given moment, if I would have continued to allow him to do that stuff, I could have been killed. So I just had to go. I had to go.
Thank you. And I know you mentioned that you're coming from the beauty industry, and we think, because I include myself, that it's not going to happen to a professional. But you're coming from the beauty industry. You left everything basically to move in with him. How was that for you?
Well, marriage is serious to me. When I say that I'm gonna get married to you, I'm gonna give my all to you. I'm gonna be yours. I'm gonna whatever we have to do in order to make our marriage work. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
was gonna do. So 6 months into our marriage, actually, is when my makeup career got really, really successful. And he couldn't handle it. So at one point, I got a 9 to 5 job, and I wasn't pursuing makeup at all. And I don't even remember how I was acting, but I was depressed. I just blanked out because beauty literally saved me. Like makeup literally saved me. But he saw how depressed I was, so he allowed me to go back with rules, with stipulations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I got back, that was kind of the thing that kept me happy and kept me going. And I kind of sort of forgot your question.
That's fine. It happens. So, like I said, we think that as a professional,
Gotcha.
it doesn't happen to us.
Oh no, it doesn't matter at all. I've been a driven, motivated woman, and his family, I'm not gonna lie, is well off. So and that was one of the things that he bragged about. But I was like, he's not a bad guy like everybody actually told me before I got married. Like I didn't watch the signs at all. I didn't pay attention. I didn't care. Like I thought I was in love. And I didn't love myself at the time. So being an alcoholic and not loving myself fully, even though I was successful in my career, I fell into this kind of trap.
Thank you. What advice, Stacy, can you give to our beautiful people out there, as a professional and coming through this experience?
No matter what, like my biggest thing is follow your heart, follow your gut, follow what the voices, the good voices, because you'll have the bad voices on this side. After a while, a lie of you not being beautiful and nobody's gonna want you. After a while, that lie can feel truthful in yourself when you hear it a lot. So start telling yourself truthful, positive things about yourself away from him. Tell yourself in the mirror how beautiful you are, how strong you are, how amazing you are, and follow that good part. Follow the happy side. um, and if you feel as though something like in your heart is not right,
Mhm.
just move on. Sometimes you just have to get up and go. And I was fortunate enough to have that retreat, that vacation, that kumbaya kind of
Mhm.
experience to help me not have any doubt to leave him. So just find your happy place and listen to your happy thoughts and get out of there if you are in a bad situation. And you know what's crazy? I actually had to go to a domestic violence shelter. So this domestic violence shelter actually had group meetings that I was mandatory to attend if I was in the building. I was able to attend a good amount, but no matter what, I had to go back and see what I missed if I wasn't in the actual group. So I have a stack of papers that basically explains the traits of an abuser. Every single time that I would read the packets, I would be like, oh my God, that's him. Oh my God, that's him. Oh my God, that's him. But I realized too that abusers don't necessarily just have to be your spouse. it could be your boss, it could be your mother, it could be your sister, it could be your friend. So what I was like, when I got the information from, I was a couple weeks into the actual program, I asked them, I was like, this is some good information. Can I please share it? And they say, yeah, absolutely. Like, their goal is obviously to save as many people too. So I'm going to start teaching and educating on the finding out the signs of an abuser. Because I didn't even realize that most of the things that were happening during our entire relationship was red flags that he was going to be abusive. And verbal is actually 10 times worse than physical. Like, because you just can't see the scars. You can't tell when that scar is healed. You can't, because it's on the inside that they damage you. So if you could see the traits before that even happens, like nowadays, a guy will text me or message me on Facebook, and I could tell automatically that he's not what I need to be speaking to, just by one little line, because now I educated myself. And I want to be able to educate more people too, just like how you're doing. Like, sharing people's stories is important because everybody's story is different, yes, but they all have similar traits. So when somebody hears one little thing that happened to them or happened to another person, they might say, you know what, something similar did happen to me. Maybe I am in an abusive relationship too and not even realize it, and we just have to protect ourselves. Hope I answer your question. I'll be rambling sometimes.
Thank you so very much. Stacy, where can we find you if we have additional questions?
I'm everywhere, all over social media, Stacy Christine, everything. So Instagram is Stacy Christine MUA, that stands for makeup artist, or you can call it Moi. Facebook is Stacy Christine, YouTube Stacy Christine, and my website is stacychristine.com.
Perfect. Thank you so very much. It was a pleasure having you here in the house today. And God bless you with that big heart of yours and your son as well.
Thank you, darling. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.